Okay, good morning, everyone. I am Kathy Hester, and welcome to my kitchen. I love to have people in my kitchen and teach them little tips and tricks about cooking to make things easier. If you have some questions along the way, go ahead and type them in. I can see them over here, and I'll address them at either while I'm going along or at the end. So I am a vegan cookbook author. So I have, I think, 11 published cookbooks. You can find my cookbooks on Amazon and any place that books are sold. You can also find some free recipes at my two blogs, plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. And my latest book is gluten-free vegan cooking in your Instant Pot. So it's perfect for the Nourish Festival. So I'm excited that you guys are here. And what I'm going to do, I don't see any questions. So if you see me looking this way, I'm just checking for your questions. What we're going to make today is our super fast, quick and easy cheater red beans. So red beans usually can have God knows what in them. They definitely aren't vegan. And you never know when someone's going to throw a little flour into something. None of this is happening, and we're going to get these thick, wonderful, delicious, creamy beans that we all dream of. So I'm going to start and saute and do some things, and then I'm also, because I looked at my Cajun seasoning, and there is not enough. So I'm going to show you how I make my quick and easy Cajun spice blend too, because there should be more than enough time. One thing you should know is that I work with a lot of people who have special vegan diets. So I'm going to be sauteing my vegetables without oil. However, if you use oil, totally do it. So I'm here to support you and your diet where you are. Now, I don't know how to cook meat, so that's kind of out of the question. But if you want to use oil, salt, sugar, any of those things, great. However, if you don't want to use those, I'm going to be giving you options as well. And I'm going to pull that back because we're going to look at it for the Cajun spice recipe. Let me show you overhead. And we won't stay here too long because watching onions cook is a little boring. So I'm going to turn on my induction burner. And one of the things I did, we're just going to use 2 cans of organic kidney beans. And if you're salt-free, you could use those salt-free. But I drained some of the liquid, which is also known as aquafaba, which is a super fancy word for bean water. Vegans use aquafaba to make meringues, like the dried meringues, and mayonnaise, and you can do all kinds of things with it. So it's kind of like the best between an egg white and an egg yolk. It has some of those same proteins. So I'm just going to use some of this to saute with. I also have some water that I may add in there too to thin things out if I want. And I want you to notice this. Let me get overhead. I want you to notice, and Karen is saying, do I know which company offer gluten-free beans? There is not a gluten-free sign on this one. So I am honestly not sure, but I know the Nourish Festival will know, so maybe I make a lot of my beans, but I am a gluten intolerant, but I don't have celiac. And if you have celiac, it's a whole different level of things I understand. So I'm just going to start sauteing these. And I wanted you to notice, these are frozen cut up onions. And I made those myself. So what I try to do is have like a little chop-in session when I get my onions. The same thing with the bell peppers. Notice they've still got some frost on them. I don't defrost them before I put them in. Onions, bell peppers, garlic you can do, ginger you can do. Also, one thing that you may not be used to doing is mushrooms. And also, Karen, if you wanted to make absolutely sure, what you could do is you could have already, and this is what I do a lot, is I actually cook up a whole bunch of beans in the Instant Pot. So I'll cook a pound or 2 at one time, and then I freeze them in 1.5 cup servings, which is about what's in a can of beans. It keeps changing. If you've noticed, it gets a little less and a little less. But the recipe I'm showing you today is not an exact measurement sort of situation. And you can get the recipe on my blog, healthyslowcooking.com. And I have the link in my presenter information. So you could just simply do that. Okay. And while these, I'm going to lower this a little bit. I'll let you peek again. Okay. And what I'll do is I'll just add some aquafaba or some water as it goes. And while these are cooking down, and I find that these are best, this is probably the most time-consuming step, is cooking the onions. Then we want them to get really nice, mellow, and translucent. So they're real sweet. Okay, and while this is cooking, I'm going to push this ahead, and I'm going to make, we may be going back and forth a little bit, but I'm going to make a quick Cajun spice blend. So I make a lot of spice blends, so I actually have an attachment for my Ninja. You don't have to have this. A coffee grinder works just as well. And if you use your coffee grinder for coffee, what you can do is take some white rice, grind the white rice up. That'll take out a lot of the coffee flavor. And then grind your spice. Then repeat. Grind the white rice so you can get most of the spice out. Now, if you can, or if you don't have a spice grinder or coffee grinder, you can go to Amazon and get spice grinders that have 2 grinding compartments. 2. And that means you could have one for each, and nothing's going to start smelling like the other. Okay, and so I have a whole bunch of spices over here. Sorry, that's so loud. It's kind of obnoxious, isn't it? So I'm going to open up my recipe because I haven't made it in a little while. We're going to do 2 teaspoons of paprika. And I'm just going to put this right into the grinding cup. And you know what else? If it's not exactly 2 teaspoons, if it's 3 teaspoons and that's the way you like it, the whole purpose in doing a spice blend is to make it the way you like it. So some Cajun blends are too spicy for children or my wife, Cheryl. So we're going to put 2 teaspoons of thyme. And a lot of times I eyeball it, as you can see. We are going to do 2 teaspoons of either dried oregano or marjoram. Do you guys use marjoram? It's one of my favorite spices. And what you'll notice, and I encourage you, if you have a chance and you have oregano and marjoram, or if you're like have the bonus spice store and you have Mexican oregano, and marjoram, smell them all together and smell the slight hints that you get from each one. Mexican oregano has a little bit of a lemony and a slight floral. Marjoram has a little bit of a floral, and it's much milder and more subtle than oregano. Oregano kind of hits you in the face like grammar school pizza, right? And marjoram kind of just slides in there and gives you like a really nice, yummy part. Stir my onions that are definitely not translucent yet. Okay. Let's go back up top. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of granulated garlic. And garlic powder and onion powder are really a big piece of my life. I do a lot of slow cooking as well. And when you're slow cooking, you may not want to saute your onions or garlic before you start. And if you don't, it's not going to have that same wonderful mellow flavor. However, you can forego it and just use probably about a teaspoon per half cup, depending on your taste, of onion powder or garlic powder to replace it. So like with garlic powder, that's not going to be per cup. I usually use about a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, period, around. We're going to do a teaspoon of it in here. And I like granulated better than powder. I feel like it has a better flavor to it. And that makes me happy. So again, cooking should make you happy. We have to do a lot of it, right? Especially if we have special allergies or special diets. You can put half a teaspoon of onion powder in there. And then you can put as much or as little cayenne as you want. And I'm going to probably put in about a quarter, heaping eighth of a teaspoon, because if you have kids or a spouse that's just like, no, start low. You can always add some more cayenne powder to the dish or serve it with some hot sauce on the side. And then we're going to do a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. And you could choose to not use a grinder to make the spice blend at all and just have it kind of more chunky. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I do find is if you grind it, it actually incorporates into the soup, stew, red beans, anything that you're doing a little bit more. And it really gives you more of an even flavor profile throughout. So that's why I like to grind mine. We're going to use like a quarter teaspoon of allspice. And we're going to use about an eighth of a teaspoon of cloves. You don't really taste the cloves. They're just kind of this darker undertone in the blend. And let me tell you, if your cloves are super fresh, you may want to use even just a pinch instead of an eighth of a teaspoon. These are pretty fresh, so I'm going to do kind of a heaping 16th. Oh, let me come back before we blend. I'll show you the beans. Well, not the beans. The bean mixture, which is right now bean water and this. And see how they're starting to soften up really nice? Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more bean water. And I'm going to put in our garlic. I also wanted to show you, for no other reason than it's my favorite new garlic accoutrement, which just is awesome. It's really easy, and I'm finding myself doing more fresh garlic just because of it. So let's get that, because we want to cook the sharpness off of the garlic as well. And now we're going to really get some noise going. There we go. And the way this works for the Ninja is it just comes on like this. So first you put that on, then you put it on in here. And you guys will be able to see. Turn on the power and extract. Okay, and that's probably about all it, well, I'm going to go a little bit longer because actually that marjoram was not as, this where we can see it real good. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add in these frozen chopped up peppers. And I have some diced celery today. When I don't have fresh diced celery for this recipe, you can actually use ground celery seed instead to impart a similar flavor. And so because those peppers are frozen, they are going to slow up the cooking a little bit. And so I'm going to turn this back up a little bit more. Now, one thing too, at Trader Joe's, you can, I think other places too, I usually get them at Trader Joe's. You can get the tri-color bell peppers in the frozen section. They're usually in strips. I often go ahead and chop them up and then freeze them. Also, when I get some bell peppers in my CSA, I go ahead and freeze them as well. So that way, because what's funny, actually today, I went in to grab a fresh pepper that I had left in the fridge for too long and it was not usable. So I went downstairs and found what I had done properly. So in the winter, I always remember to freeze all my onions and freeze all my peppers, but it's also a good practice to go ahead and do that, especially if you find that they go bad before you can use them. If you're getting extra amounts, maybe in a CSA or a produce box like Misfit Market or Imperfect Foods. With mushrooms, I find they go bad so quickly, sometimes before I can use them, and I like to buy them on sale. So if I go in on, and usually it's always a Sunday, if I go into the grocery store on a Sunday and I see all the fancy mushrooms marked down to 99 cents, I grab those, slice them, and put them in the freezer. You could also mince some and put in the freezer as well. And in fact, mushrooms would be a welcome addition to this dish if you had some on hand that you wanted to use up. We're getting this all back up and going. Any other questions? I'm sorry I didn't know about the about which companies do this gluten-free canned beans, but I'm sure we can find out that information for you and put that back in. Because we have the experts at this festival, which is amazing. Okay. I'm going to turn this up just a little bit if I can. There we go. That's a little bit better lighting-wise. Sorry for the shakiness. And this is our Cajun spice powder that we're going to be using. And because I just made it, it smells fresher than the one I had before. And that's another good reason to make things yourself, is for that freshness. Now you could use, well, you couldn't use this, I don't think, because it does say it is manufactured on equipment that uses milk, soy, and wheat. So you probably want to not use this at all. I brought it up just because that's one of the blends that people know about. And there's nothing wrong with using a store-bought Cajun spice blend. I tend to make all of my spice blends without salt for two reasons. One is that a lot of my readers are limiting their salt intake for medical reasons. That's one thing. Two is you may be in a mixed salt household where some people like things salted more than others, or maybe you'd like to control the salt in your recipes as you're going along. And if that's the case, adding salt after is better. I'm a big proponent of salt to taste at the end of a dish because I don't think that my salt gauge is your taste buds. I know some people do, and it's a heated topic in the culinary community, but I fall solidly on the side of it's your dinner, you should like it. So like, for instance, if you hate marjoram but like oregano, please use oregano if you make this spice blend, right? If you hate bell peppers, maybe leave them out of the dish. Because the whole point of cooking at home, now I will say it is more authentic, but authentic red beans cook all day long over a wood fire, right? While someone's doing laundry. So we're still making more modern mixes of things. Okay, awesome. And January said, you mentioned freezing mushrooms. After thawing, do they end up rubbery? Do they taste the same? They taste the same for me. I mean, obviously, I've used some frozen mushrooms in spaghetti sauces, soups, and stews, and they don't seem rubbery to me. Now, if you're super sensitive, you may notice a difference. So what I would suggest is maybe just buying an 8-ounce thing of mushrooms, trying it out and seeing if it works for you. I don't find a difference, and I don't find that anyone has noticed the difference at all. And let me, our recipes over here, so I want to tell you at least approximately what you should start thinking of doing. Because again, I make recipes so that you have a starting point. I want the end point to be where you've made it your own and you sit around your table and you're proud of what it tastes like and that it suits you perfectly. And with mushrooms, yeah, another great place to get mushrooms inexpensively is the Asian market. So I can get specialty mushrooms like shiitake and oyster mushrooms, sometimes for a third of the price that you can get in the grocery store. And I love doing that. So I'll take one trip once a month, freeze a lot of those, and then make dishes with them. Okay. I don't think I've missed any other questions. All right, we're looking good. I'm going to scrape the last of this bean water out. If you're using home-cooked beans that you've drained, don't worry about using the bean water. It's fine. So let's go ahead. And one thing that I do like to do is kind of activate my seasoning blends, especially since we have some spices instead of just herbs in here with the Cajun blend. I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons to start with. But you could add more because really this is the flavor in the dish. So we'll start with 2, and then we're also going to go ahead. I've got some more water to add for cooking as we go along, because this water, while it looks very thin right now, you know, it doesn't look, you're like, that's still not going to be creamy beans, lady. You're nutso, right? Any of you are thinking that. I can appreciate that. See, we're already getting kind of a thick, flavorful, gravy-like substance in there. And so we're also going to put some liquid smoke. And I don't know if this just has natural liquid smoke. I don't know if there is a brand that is specifically gluten-free. Oh, yes, I do know. Colgan is marked gluten-free and vegan. This one is also vegan. And we're going to put, here we'll use the Colgan. We're going to put as much as you want. I use between half a teaspoon to a teaspoon because I like my food smoky. This is replacing the meat juices that would normally be in red beans and rice. And you can see my top of my head as I smell it. I do like to smell things as I go to see if it's working for me or not. Okay. And you don't have to use the tricolor peppers in here. It does make it pretty. I just use whatever color pepper I happen to have on hand at that moment. Now you can use salt and pepper to taste when the time comes. And we'll taste and we'll re-season with our Cajun spice blend. Now we're going to pour the beans in. There's a little bit of juice in there. I'm going to let it go. Okay, and this is the silliest trick. However, it is what makes this dish like real red beans and rice. Like right now, it's more like red bean etouffee almost, because that's not creamy. I don't see the creamy, do you? Oh, and Joanna's late, but she is. Okay, so welcome, Joanne. Joanne takes a lot of my classes, and in fact, we're doing a tofu class later today that I'll tell you about at the end. And I have a special coupon code should you want to join in today. Okay, secret potato masher. We're going to mash about 2/3 of these beans. And then all of a sudden, they're going to look a lot like they have lard in them, which is what the traditional beans have in them. A lot of animal fat. And if you've ever gotten something before you were in an allergy state, like blue runner beans, is a New Orleans tradition. And see how it's not done yet, but I want you to see that see how it looks different. It's already starting to look different. Okay. And I could have a bigger masher, but I kind of like this one because I want to have some whole beans. I don't want to mash all the beans, but I want to mash half or more, because that's when it really starts looking good. But if you've ever had red rotor beans or seen them, it almost looks like refried beans with just some bean smushed in there. See, look at that. See, now that's starting to look a little bit more like red beans. And see how they look creamy, but there's no dairy, there's no meat in here, and there's no oil in here either. I did know a New Orleans chef. I lived in New Orleans for 12 years. I'm not from there, but I lived there a long time. And there was a vegan chef who actually put some peanut butter into hers to make them creamier. So depending on your allergies, that may be a yay or a nay for you. There we go. Oh, you guys, I can't wait to have this for lunch. So now what I'm going to do is I'd like it to be a little bit thicker, just as far as cooking some of that liquid off. You could go the opposite way if you wanted yours not quite that thick. You could add a little more water at this point. But really, it's that thick, creamy yumminess. And you're going to serve this over just steamed rice. So if you're meal prepping, this is a great meal for when you're just like, I don't know how I'm going to feed y'all, right? A couple of cans of beans, some stuff from the freezer, and some spices is all you've got. And then you could put some rice or quinoa or some other grain in a rice cooker or an Instant Pot, set the timer, have it go off, sit down, make this really quick, and you've got a dinner. And it's really tasty. So I'm going to grab my tasting spoons. I'm going to taste it now and then decide if it needs more Cajun spice. I have not added the salt and pepper yet. I figure I go heavy on Cajun spice, so I'm adding 3 teaspoons. I'm going to go ahead and add some sea salt. I'm probably going to add about a half teaspoon. And then I'm going to put just probably a quarter of a teaspoon of black pepper in there. And remember, if you're not sure, if you're new to cooking and you're not sure how much salt you like or how much pepper you like, start small. Start with a quarter teaspoon. Then add a little bit more, because you can always add more, but you can't take it out once it's in there. Sometimes there's ways of saving things, but sometimes you're just stuck with the results. You guys have any other questions while we're finishing this off? Because we're going to be opening it up for questions in just a minute anyhow. And I'm just stirring in everything good, letting that Cajun spice blend heat up just ever so much to kind of awaken it. If you're ever sauteing onions and you know you have spices coming up later, and the difference between spices and herbs, spices are something that lasts a long time. Herbs are like leaves from a plant. So coriander seeds would be a spice. Cilantro leaves, which come from the same plant, would be an herb. So if you have some spices, then put them on while you're sauteing your onions, garlic, anything like that. And the heat, you'll notice if you smell it before and then smell it after, the heat will make those flavors blossom. And it's just, oh, it's so good. It's so good. And it's so much fun when you're cooking to get to experience those kinds of yummy things. I'm going to turn this down a little bit because it's starting to, when it gets like this and it starts to bubble a little bit too much, you need to turn it down because it will splash out at you and that will hurt. Yep, that's the way I like it. So this to me is it done. And with us making the spice blend and everything, and I slowed down the sauteing a little bit just so we could do that. you can do this in 15 minutes if you have everything ready and you're not talking to anyone about doing it. So what I wanted to do, let me stop this, is just a little bit, is I wanted to give you just a really quick, easy, nutritious meal that if you're trying to, whatever you're transitioning to, whatever your allergies are or your eating styles, let's say you're trying to transition from eating meat as much, or maybe you just want to dally with Meatless Monday. Red beans and rice is a Monday dish because that's when people in New Orleans used to do their laundry. So they would put on the beans and they would cook all day while they were down at the water doing their laundry a bazillion years ago, even before I was around. So it's a perfect way to do Meatless Monday. It's got lots of nutrition. You could add extra vegetables in here. You could put shredded carrots. You could put some zucchini. You could take it from being, because traditional red beans and rice, the red beans and rice we made today are a little over this way. You know, there's some space. And then there's your red beans and rice. And maybe yours, maybe you would throw in a handful of minced kale right now. You could totally do that. If you're trying to get your family to eat more greens, I mince them up like parsley and use them as decoration until they get used to it. And then I put handfuls in soups. And it works like a charm. So let's see if you got some more questions. And I'm hoping you do, but I'm not seeing any right now. So again, you can get the recipe at healthyslowcooking.com. If you go to my profile for this demo, you will see that. If I believe the Cajun spice recipe is up there. If it's not, it will be up there soon, and I will make a link to it. But if you have, it's in a lot of my books. And so again, I'm Kathy Hester, author of 11 cookbooks, blogger at plantbasedinstantpot.com and healthyslowcooking.com. Healthy Slow Cooking is not all slow cooking, which is a little confusing. It is all the cooking. It's the blog I started 12 years ago. So it's evolved. So there's air fryer recipes, and there's Instant Pot recipes, and slow cooker recipes, and stovetop and oven, and on and on and on. Oh, awesome, Michelle, you're arriving now. Welcome. I guess, where did I get the hand grate? Oh, so my little garlic press, you can get these anywhere. You can get them on Amazon. And Joanne, if you have your link ready, if you could put that in there, that would be awesome. But if not, you can just get it anywhere. It's really heavy. And so my garlic clove was ginormous, like this, probably bigger than a quarter. So I sliced it a little bit. For little ones, you just go, you put it on there and you whoop, and that's it. And this is going to be harder to clean because I didn't go to the sink and clean it immediately. But if you clean it as soon as you press the garlic, it's a dream. And even now, I think maybe I'll soak it for 20 minutes and then it'll come off really, really easily. It has actually turned me on to doing more just on the spot, getting fresh garlic ready to go. Because I'm a recipe developer, a lot of times I have to go through a lot. So I'll go ahead and get a jar of pre-made at somewhere like Trader Joe's. And in fact, Trader Joe's does not have any oil in it. And so that's something to notice too. If you're not, live it up, but you might want to notice what kinds of preservatives they put in and see if that affects any of your allergies negatively. So that's one thing with anything. When you're making your spice blends yourself, you know exactly what's in there. And to keep things from caking up, you know, a lot of times that's when people will use things like wheat flour. I was looking for Jamaican curry powder, and it was really hard to find one that didn't have gluten in it. But if you make it at home, which I did, of course, after that, is if you take any kind of vitamins or minerals or anything like that, you know, the little packets that come in those that say do not eat, it doesn't mean that they're not food safe. It means that you shouldn't eat them because they're real dehydrating. They won't kill you, but don't eat them. Follow the instructions. But what they are good for is to pop in something like this And if you live in a humid climate like I do, I'm in North Carolina, then it's going to make your spice blends not clump together and last a lot longer. So that's something else to think about. And Joanne says Aldi also has a pre-chopped garlic in a jar that doesn't have any oil. And let's see, any other questions, you guys? Even though this cookbook is the only one that says gluten-free on it, in 90% of all the recipes, possibly more than that, in every book I've ever done that's just my book, has gluten-free options or recipes with a gluten-free option as an alternative. So I always, in my recipes, I have gluten-free options, soy-free options, oil-free options, usually I have nut-free options, salt-free options, and you try to have refined sugar-free options in everything. So if you go on Healthy Slow Cooking, you find an older recipe maybe that didn't have all that in there, you can email me at kathyhester@gmail.com and ask me how to make it for your allergy. And if it's possible, I will tell you. I will also tell you if it's not. So there may be some things like, if it's almond ricotta and you have a nut allergy, you're probably better off just finding a tofu ricotta, right? So also I have a free private Facebook group if you're on Facebook. It's called Vegan Recipes, Cooking with Kathy Hester. And there are over 7,000 wonderful, helpful, friendly people there. There's a mixture of vegans, plant-based, and varying types of eating people. You know, as far as like if they're vegetarian, if they're Meatless Monday, anything like that. Okay, so I'd love for you to come over and join there. Let me check. Still no questions. You guys are so quiet. So one more thing, and then I think I'll be heading out. If you don't have questions, I will sit here and answer all your questions, though. So if you have some like weird Instant Pot question, now's the time, because I've got 2 Instant Pot books. I've got an air fryer book, a couple of slow cooker books. But today at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is like an hour and a half from now, I am teaching a class on how to make tofu, shan, which is chickpea tofu. So there's no soy involved in that. And obviously we have to make soy milk to make the tofu. And I think we're going to make another milk and talking about soy alternative non-dairy milks. Those are a lot of modifiers. However, they're delicious. So if you would like to do that, you can go to kathyhester.podia.com. So that's kathyhester.podia.com. Scroll down, select the tofu class, put it in your cart. It's going to say it's $35. Then you'll say, got a coupon code, and you can click on that and put Nourished Festival 2020, and then that will bring the price of your class to $20. So it's filming live at 1 o'clock. However, you can watch it after that. It will be up by tonight if the internet gods are with me. So usually what I do is I record it live, then I put it into Podia, and you would be able to see it. The recipes are there. And if you want to make tofu along with me later this afternoon, I would love to have you. If you want to, that code is going to work for a very, very long time. So if you can't make the live class today, use the code, come hang out with us, and you can ask questions even if later, if you're watching it for the first time and it's pre-recorded. There's a place to ask questions, or you can ask questions in the Facebook group that I told you about, or my email, kathyhester@gmail.com. Okay. Can I put this in the chat? Yes, I can. Sorry for turning away from you guys. And in fact, this will take you straight there. If I can get back to where, there I am. And I will put what it is. Get my homemade tofu class for $20. And also, while I'm here and staring at the screen, I'll go ahead and put a link to my Facebook group, if I can grab that real quick. Sorry not to be looking at you guys. I don't know why that never shows up in the beginning. Here we go. La, la, la. I feel like I should sing you a little song for waiting. Do a little dance. Woo! You guys are the best. Okay. And I'm going to put my free private Facebook group. And if you want, just because you're you and you watch this, just go ahead and say, Kathy sent me from the demo. And then I'll let you in. You can also go ahead and join my mailing list through there by putting your email address in when you go to the private Facebook group. And then you'll get the recipes and classes and information like that. You can always unsubscribe. Any other questions, Michelle or Turkisha? Is that how you say your name, Turkisha? Even if I'm butchering it, it is a gorgeous name. So that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes for questions. Okay, and I had asked Joanne to find me a recipe for almond ricotta that she made, and she found it. So that's exciting to me because when you make tofu, you're curdling it. And so Joanne told me she did something similar with almond milk, so I'm dying to know. Okay, guys. Well, you have been just most awesome. And I remember, again, you can get this recipe. It's up all the time, forever. If you go to the website, you can also print the recipe out. There's a button to do that, so easy peasy. Any of the recipes on the blog, you're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And that's pretty much with any blog, anywhere. So just take a deep breath, scroll to the bottom, and then you can print it out for all future use or just come back and bookmark it. So what I'd love for you to do is make some delicious red beans and rice today for your family, and make some rice and just sit back and relax, enjoy your day, and hang out here at the Nourish Festival and watch some more great demos.